Welcome back to another video on the channel where healing and spiritual growth are front and center. And as you can see, we are joined by our fellow warrior, Adrian Stone, and we're going to dive into a topic that did not get discussed often enough. And so, without further ado, gonna let Adrian, introduce himself, or go ahead and start the conversation all about the mirroring that these narcissistic abusers do. You have the floor, my friend.
Okay. Well, I suppose as we've discussed, uh, the mirroring I saw, I kind of realised it more when I'd been discarded, basically. And the more you start to heal and obviously talk to other people that have been through similar things or the same thing, exactly the same thing, funny enough, with everybody, um, you kind of look back and see how right from the start it happens, where they look into your past, you share your history with them, and they seem to bounce back off you with the things that they've been through. You kind of have shared experiences, things like that. And it, as I said, it makes you feel like you have a safe space to talk. So then you talk and talk and talk, and then you let them have everything, and they now know what you need in life, what you want going forward, and then that's when they can do what they want to do, really, and everything you seem to like, they seem to like, which, you know, that is weird. You're not supposed to like everything that your partner likes, you know. But I think that's another way that they can control where you are, who you're with, all that sort of thing. Because if they're enjoying all the things you're enjoying, you're always with them. That's part
There
of it
you
as well.
go. That is an
So
excellent point right there. How the mirroring like that, like liking everything that we like and stuff like that, is a form of that control. Exactly. Because that way
mm,
they're always, no matter what it is you're doing, we're doing or whatever, they're always gonna be there to keep an
always
eye
involved.
on. Mm-hmm.
And
They're
you're happy to bring them along to things because obviously this is your person, because you're looking at this person as, wow, I've never had anyone enjoy the things that I enjoy like this, fishing, things like that. Just going fishing that I used to do with my nephew all the time and my dad and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, my partner enjoys fishing, when
exactly.
I've never had a partner who's enjoyed fishing, but she loves it. So, you know,
Yeah, that's how they do it. That's
mm,
exactly how they do it. I'm glad that you were able to make that connection. That's a very shrewd observation, right there about how that plays a role in there. What keeping tabs on us. That's just their way of doing it. It's kind
yeah.
of a in a really weird, twisted way, form of stalking too.
Yeah, because it's a case of the times that when you want to pull away and do something on your own, now you can't. Now it's what you don't want to be with me. And you're like, well, I do, but I just need some time or whatever, some space and then it's a problem. And then it's, well, you don't want to be with me, obviously. And,
There you
you know,
go. Exactly. That's like that part of the like that example of the conversation that you shared was really spot on right there, and that's another good example of how they'll do that. Because they mirror us to that point where that once we do decide that, because a normal healthy relationship is gonna have to take some space and
you
time,
need space. Yeah.
away, and so they don't want to do that, so they'll flip it and make it like you said. Oh, now you don't want to be, you don't want to be with me, or some kind of accusation.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's all to turn it back around on them, and because you admitted that you wanted to go have a little bit of solitude, but now the narc's like all of a sudden no, 'cause they want to be joined at our hip,
Yep. And
it's
if, and because if you're doing something on your own, then in their head, they're not that important and they need to be the most important thing ever. The moment you step away from that, even if it's normal, like just going fishing or something like that, with your nephew, you know, it's that kind of constant pressure of I can't get time on my own, you know, and that's what starts dropping in your head. That's when you start feeling the ups and downs, I think, of it all, because you're like that. Wow, there's a person that I love being around. She loves everything that I love, but I do need 5 minutes on my own sometimes, you know, and you're not allowed it. You're not allowed it. It's weird.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because again, it's all about them controlling, who we're around, who we're talking to. And I know you had mentioned when we were talking before we got on here about how she went through. Did she went through some of your contact on the social media?
Well, yeah, I mean, very early into the relationship, I mean, obviously, she's obviously just told me that she's very insecure and she's been cheated on in the past by her ex-husband and all those sort of things. So I kind of let it off because I was like, well, she's been hurt, so I get it. Um, but she would go from my Instagram, and as I said, I used to follow a lot of CrossFit influencers, men and women. But she would notice that these people, there's a lot of women, and they're all wearing CrossFit clothes, which are tiny little clothes. But this I did for during my healing process before I kind of get fit. That's what I do. I have to get in the gym, do that. And you need people like we do now, like what's going on with this whole thing. You need other people to bounce off of and get inspiration from and things like that and other ideas and whatnot. And I did that. And she hated it, to be honest. But she did say to me, if you want me to be like that, I can be like that. I can get in the gym and stuff. And obviously I said to her, I don't need you to be like that. You're perfect as you are, you know. But it was she wanted to change. Do you know what I mean? It was like she didn't want to change. She was never going to do it. But it was making me think this person's going to do anything for me. It's amazing. It's that
Yeah,
she's telling you what you want to hear, because you as a normal person, you do think, oh, I've got things I can work on and I can change this and change that. And I think that's part of the where you're trying to change yourself or trying to improve yourself. They want to join in with that, not genuinely. They don't really want to do it, but telling you it puts it in your head like, wow, she wants to be with me in every way, sort of thing.
exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
they
that's
do
what kind
that.
of, yeah, it's
Go ahead.
it's no, sorry, I was just going to say it is nuts. It is nuts because, as I was saying earlier, two people shouldn't be perfect together. You work with differences and different opposites attract and things like that. And when, as we were saying a minute ago, when you're enjoying the same things constantly, you have no time apart to breathe, to kind of grow apart, or not grow apart, but grow in the relationship apart. You need your own space from time to time.
Right, and
And
in a healthy, the healthy way.
yeah,
Exactly, exactly. And so I knew what you're talking about there
yeah,
because it's like this is part of how I talked about where we realize the narcissistic abuser is very clingy and suffocating in that way
yeah,
through that mirroring that they do in order to be involved in everything and always doing everything that we're doing.
exactly. Even to the changing the way they dress and things like that. And you can see it because obviously you do have a peak when they move on and things like that, and the clothes change, and that's weird, you know. And as I was saying before, like the ex-husband used to say, I don't recognize you, um, you're completely different from the person I knew. And then you find yourself thinking the same things when you've been discarded. And that helped me as well to realize what I had nothing in common with this person, because I had nothing in common with the ex-husband. So if she's got things in common with him and he thinks that's true, what does it mean for me? Because we're completely different people. But that's that constant, they will mirror whoever they're with. They'll listen to the same music, they'll wear the clothes that the other person likes. It's not normal. You know, they're not their own person.
Exactly.
That's that's the problem, where you're kind of just doing your thing or trying to. They're looking at you and they are taking pieces from you, and they'll pick up little mannerisms and sayings and things like that. That's another thing that I noticed.
That is very, it's like at the same time while they're doing the mirroring, that's also them mocking at the same time. It's really it's a really crazy making parallel, which is another reason why it takes a while to sort through that, and it's that mockery, because it's like those of us, we come to realize, like, yeah, well, God is not mocked. But see, that's why they do that. It's the mirroring. And then you made a great point about the mannerisms. Like if we're talking with our hands, like some of us do, we'll notice that the narcissistic abuser will start to, people, social influence is one thing, but the narcissistic abuser who's trying to learn our attributes so that they can shape their persona into just another version of us to trick us, and it basically tricks us into falling in love with ourselves.
That's what I was thinking about earlier today, actually, because it's when you read those memes or whatever where they say like you didn't fall in love with them, you kind of fell in love with yourself again, because it was you putting everything into the relationship, because all the energy and the love comes from you, so it's you being mirrored back. And that's why it's that's a little bit narcissistic, actually, but that's why you do fall in love, because someone's giving you the same sort of stuff that you give out, which if you're a very loving person, you're giving the world, and then if they're giving you that, and then you have moments where they take it away, that's the trauma bonding. And you think, how, why can't I talk to you? We have everything in common. We've said that we need to talk, but we can never talk. That was a massive problem, having a proper discussion, when it needed it, because in relationships you do need it, especially if you're living in each other's pockets like you do with the person, because you're not allowed time on your own.
Right. Exactly. And that's how they do that. It's like, they give back what we're dishing out, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it does. It creates kind of a like a haze, so to speak. And so that's exactly what they did with the dishing it out and then taking it away, dishing it out, and that reward punishment, that intermittent reinforcement. And they use that for the wrong reasons, obviously. So how long did it take you to realize that she had done that mirroring in the first place?
Well, we split up kind of a while ago, for the first time. Obviously it was all my fault. And then she quickly got back with her ex-husband, I don't know, within weeks of us splitting. And he was the worst person ever. According to her, he was, a massive alcoholic, horrible with the kids, stuff like that. He wasn't even allowed to see the kids when we were together. And then we split up. 2 weeks later, he was back in the home. And you're like, wow. And obviously I was thinking, how can that happen? Because for a year and a half, you've been telling me you never had anything in common, blah, blah, blah. I'm everything you've ever wanted. And then you're back with him, and then that lasted 3 months. We got back together. Lots of begging on my part, as you do. And then that was, I think then when we got back together, things went downhill really quickly, because that was when I realized kind of she doesn't have to make any effort now, because I was the one that begged her back. So in her mind, it's all up to me to make it work. It's all up to me to make the relationship work. I've got to change everything about myself, and she didn't have to change anything, because she's perfect, because I've told her she's perfect for me, because she was, because we could do everything together that I enjoyed, and I like going out. I like going and eating in restaurants and things like that. And she said to me she'd never done that before. It's just all a lot of
makes you do this quite a bit. It makes you scratch the head like, wait a minute. Yeah, yeah, oh, totally, totally, we get
Mm,
it. Yeah, absolutely. And to wrap our heads around all of that, how they'll when they trash talk the ex, but then turn around and get back with them.
mm,
But we're still trauma bonded. So if we take them back, or beg them back, or take them back, we're still not really paying attention to that one yet. And then,
mm.
as you said, it does. Many of us will, we can attest to the fact that that's why, if we go back to the abuser, it's going to go downhill. And that, again, you made a great point as to why, because they don't have to put in as much effort as they did in the first go round with the trauma bonding.
Yeah,
So,
because they know you're done. They know you're in love with them. You're done. You know, they're the person for you. So why would
mhm.
they make any effort then? You know, because well, you loved me that way. She said to me months ago, if I'm so bad, why do you want me so much? And you do. You think because I love you, because I'm in love with you, and you're like, when you actually sit down, you get out of the situation, and you have time to think, what are you in love with? You know, because it's not the arguments, it's not the constant every time you need to talk about something, you're given the silent treatment or told you're just starting an argument. And then when it gets into it, it's go and find someone better and all that. And that's another thing. You can't find anyone better than them because they've mirrored you so well and everything was brilliant. So you're not going to find anyone as perfect for you because they've done everything they could to mirror you, to be the way you are, to enjoy the things you like. So that's, yeah, that kind of pinged earlier. And I was like, wow, that's a little bit, that's a nasty thing to say. You're not going to find anyone better than me. But to them, it makes perfect sense because you're not going to find anyone that's going to mirror you. Again, you're not going to find anyone that's going to learn you in the first couple of months and then just bomb you with it. Just literally just you're just sitting there going, this is amazing constantly. How does she like this? How does this person like that? Because they're learning you. You know, they're not learning you for any genuine reason and sitting, you know, and having a proper conversation with you. They're learning so they can manipulate you at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right. That's a
Sad.
really good point too. That's a very good point when they do say that we're not going to find anybody better. We can kind of rephrase that now because they were mirroring us to start
Mm,
with. So we're not going to find anybody better than us ourselves anyway.
yeah, because
I mean, of
because
course,
in their head they've yeah, in their head they've put in the work to be your perfect person.
yeah.
And
I
no
mean,
one else, no normal person's going to do that, to be honest.
you're right. That's right. A
Mm,
normal person is going to, is going to want to put in the effort and appreciate and really want a little bit of you could say diversity in the relationship, you
yeah,
know, to so that you can have your own space. And
yeah,
and that's the other thing that just came to mind too, that you mentioned about how, like, when they want to go with you everywhere that you go, and we know how that also a form of control, like just stalking, but it's also a way to make sure that you stay in line, so to speak. So you're not, they want to make sure that nobody else is getting your attention.
that's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It
Bottom
is.
line.
It's complete. All of it. When you have time away, um, to really think about things properly and talk to other people, that's the only time you get any clarity. Because while you're still, I don't know, either fighting for the relationship, because my ex said that no one ever fought for her before. I was set up from the start. I can see this now. I was set up from the start because no one's ever fought for me. So when we break up, what do? I fight for her, you know, and then they could do what they want. Then they can say what they want. They could breadcrumb you like I have been, and you spin around because you've got this person saying things like, "I've never had a connection with anyone else like I've got with you. I'm never going to find that again." So in your head, you're going, "Well, if you feel that way, why are we not talking? Why are we not sorting this out? But they're not interested in sorting it out. They're just interested in, if my next supply doesn't work out, you're there.
That's it in a nutshell.
Literally. It's true.
Exactly.
And but again, it's only when you've had time away, really away, no contact, things like that, that you can clear your head and actually talk to people. And a lot of, like, friends and family won't understand what you've experienced, because as I get is, gosh, she seemed really sweet.
Yeah, and you
You
know what?
know.
Yes, because they know that too. Something that's like, they know that if we have that time away, that gives us the clarity that we need, and
Yep.
we'll start to notice it. And they know this. That's another reason why they want to be joined at the hip. They don't want us to have that alone time to have our, to be able to self think and to
Exactly.
get, to clear some things away, that we realize, wait a second, because they just know that, and so they don't want us to do that. They want.
No, because
Mhm.
you become, you have space to think, rather than them, love bombing you and doing all the wonderful things. I mean, my relationship was, when we were together, it was amazing, but things would happen, and obviously I couldn't say a word, because if I brought it up during a day when we're together, and we didn't live together, we both live in our own homes and we both got kids and things. But when we were together, if I'd have brought up a problem that had happened in the day, something we had to talk about, it was an argument. So I was shut up quickly. I couldn't bring anything up while we were together, because it's ruined the weekend, or it's ruined the week, or whatever, because someone would get in a mood instantly. And I'd be sitting there, and it is the walking on eggshells thing, and she would say to me, I'm now walking on eggshells around you. And I'm like, in my head, I'm going, no, 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 I am. But because your voice is silenced, you're not speaking up for yourself. You're letting it go, because if I try to talk to you, it's going to be, you're either going to shut down and give me the silent treatment, which was her speciality. And it's ruined everything. And then I'm going to have to accept that we're not going to be together anymore. And then that's the trauma bond, because you're like, I can't be away from this person, because I'm not going to find anyone better for me. It's
Exactly.
horrible. It's such a horrible cycle. It's horrible. It's sad, actually.
Yeah, well, it is. It is a sad cycle that many of us have experienced a similar thing like that. And that's why we're big on, tell your truth. Tell your story. It matters. Somebody else is going to relate. Whether it's going to be identical or not, they're going to relate to those patterns. They're going to know, because they felt all the same things we all did. We all got tricked into thinking that we found a soulmate, so to speak, an exact replica of ourselves. But deep down, we always knew that, okay, wait, two people are not supposed to be identical.
No.
But we knew that. But boy, we're so smitten, with those love bombs, and the fact that, wow, this person can be, just like me. I never thought, I never dreamed of it. So yes, that's a big reason why, for that confusion. And so that cloud of cognitive dissonance gets so thick, and because we're just swept off our feet.
Yep. But I think that's the good thing why people talk now, is because although they all of them have the same patterns, clearly, they all say the same things, they all do it in a cycle, but there are so many different ways that they do it. And I think that's what, when more and more people talk about it, which is what they hate, because everybody knows they've got stalkers and random accounts that pop up and get involved in what you're doing. They don't want you to find out, because obviously then they have no control. In 10 years' time, when everybody talks more and more about it, it's now probably being dealt with properly by psychiatrists or whoever helps, GPs, doctors, whatnot. No one really knows about it. That's the problem. So
Well,
it's like,
right. A lot of it, because it's so because it's so fairy tale. Yeah,
mm,
it is so fairy tale that many of us, who knew, growing up and stuff, we knew that that wasn't real. We knew this, and so a lot of people know that the fairy tales aren't real. So when this comes to light that something like a fairy tale actually occurred, it like, hold up a second, wait, what?
Mm.
No way. So it just, a lot of people, it just, that's why it takes a while to
Yeah,
sort through.
and it's trying to talk to people like family members and friends and say, this is actually what I experienced, and they go, but you were so in love, but you were lost in her, you were, she was amazing to you, and you're like, yeah. And that's what the mind boggle is, because you can't get your head around it. So people on the outside who've not experienced what you've experienced, all the silent treatments and things like that, they just, oh, you just had arguments and you've split up, sort of thing, and they don't understand how actually damaging it is for months and years for people to get through, because it is so confusing. Because you think, how can someone I loved so much and who loved me so much do all these weird things? It's
It,
it is crazy. There's no other word for it. It's absolutely crazy.
it is,
Uh,
and that's why it's a great thing for us to come together as a community to really continue the awareness. Because I've noticed how there's some moments where it's like, okay, it's getting out there now and things like that. But then there's moments where it's like, I like to say, the enemy wants to try to sweep it back under the rug, but we're like, oh, no, 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 we're warriors. We're not gonna let it get swept back under the rug.
a lot of the time they do, and that's what their smear campaigns are for. Because once they do start it months and months before they discard you. Mine started it at the start. She'd say to me, oh, my friend hates you, and I'm like, she's never met me, so who's telling her bad stuff about me? How does a person I've never met hate me all of a sudden because of what she's heard about me? It's that kind of thing. And it starts months and months and months or years before you actually get discarded. um, and it's to silence you, because the moment you do come out and you try and defend yourself, like we all do, and make ourselves look like absolute idiots, um, they've already got to everyone first, and they've told the story, and you are an abuser or something like that, or you've cheated on them when you never would have dreamed of cheating on them. But
Exactly.
it's
But
just the moment you try and defend yourself, crazy ex, obsessed, jealous, all that sort of stuff.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and that's why they do the smear campaigning the way that they do.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right there, so that, because they know at some point it's human nature. Because they know we're not the bad guy. So what they did was they wanted to set it up to where they knew that, once they could convince, other people of the lies, okay, and to fall for that, that when we were, I don't want to use the word forced, but in a sense you are. You kind of like forced to stand up for you. I mean, you're trying to defend yourself. Like, wait, no, no, that's not what happened. And so they know we'll do that, and that's what happens. So that way they continue to look like the good guy, and will continue to look like the bad guy in the eyes of those people.
yeah, yeah. Because it is, because you do, like me. I'm a dad of four, and my kids mean everything to me. And um, I've lived with my kids now for the last 5 years. They reside with me. Um, all that sort of stuff. So you do, as a proud person, you're always going to defend yourself. That's why I felt so stupid after you realize what you've been breadcrumbed, and you've been strung along, and it's the crazy making thing where they'll tell you one thing, and then they'll, in the same conversation of them going, I can never be with you again, she'll also tell that she'll never have a connection like that again. Those sort of things. So it twists your mind, because you think, how can you feel like that and feel like that? And that's that constant. And then you start sending all the long emails and things and texts and evidence. Evidence for the new supply comes along, and look, I've got a crazy ex. And if you really love that person, like some of us do, you do try. And you try and explain yourself, and you try and explain it all the way. You apologize for everything you've done wrong. And that's it. They have everything. They have everything they need, because You're apologizing, that lets them off the hook. They've done nothing wrong because look, he's apologizing constantly.
Yep, there you go. That's how they trick their target into accepting fault for their bad behaviors. That's classic. That's why they do it.
And it also sets up the new supply for the hero complex. You know, the new supply comes along and sees this crazy ex, and I did it. You know, I did it when I got with her. I wanted to look after her. You get pulled in, and you know, her crazy ex was awful and an alcoholic and all that sort of thing. And I got dragged in because I'm a protective person. You could see that. I've got kids and things like that. She could see that. I was primed, primed and ready for the control. And it's like, it's only afterwards when you do sit down and have proper thinking time and talk to other people about it that you really do go, oh, wow. You know, it's hard to accept. And I still have trouble accepting the fact that she didn't love me, you know, because there'd be times when you sat with them or you're out with them and everything's perfect, you know, and the way they look you in the eye and say things to you and all that sort of thing. And that's why you get left for years and years thinking or confused, and then they come back, you go back, that sort of thing. It's hard, but I've had to accept it that the person I love didn't exist, and that's the worst thing, you know.
That's really one of the biggest, another biggest hurdle to overcome, and accepting, you know, that what they presented, you know, to us was us, but you know that they didn't truly love us, you know, and so that does take a while because because of our own empathy and stuff, we can't even imagine, you know, going and pretending to love someone like that and not really love them. It just did not resonate.
No, it's
with
quite
us.
evil. It is evil to what's it called? Provoke so much emotion in someone and not have any feeling behind it. And I would never do that. You don't tell someone you love them unless you care about them, you know, and they don't care about anyone. That's the
I know, we get it. We get it. It is one of those tough hurdles, definitely, because you know, with our own, you know, within ourselves, knowing that we couldn't do that to someone, or we would that's not where our mind is. We don't have that kind of mindset, and so we were. You know, we just knew, you know, it's like that. And we had that instinct. No, it's like, if we're not going to tell someone that we love them if we don't. I mean, you know, we do, you know, different levels of love. You know, we love thy neighbor as thyself, but meaning from afar, and just, you know, mutual respect. We don't have to like the person, but we, you know, we have that mutual respect, being kind always anyway. But when it comes to an intimate relationship like that, you know, as far as that kind of love, it's very, very different. And so it does. We can't imagine. We could not imagine doing.
No, and I think that's when I know this is when it went wrong for me, because when you actually do love someone, you care about them, which means you look inside them, and when they've described all the things that hurt them, you then want to fix that, you know, and you start to see the real person for who they are. And I think this is when it all goes wrong for most people, because it did for me. Because when I started trying to pull out the bits and bobs and say to her, you know, you do this, you know, I can't, the silent treatments, that's a massive trigger, you know, can we, you know, if stuff happens, we need to talk, you know. And then when you start pointing out that they might do one or two things wrong that's not working in the relationship, it's when you start to see going, that person's not listening or not invested. That's when the discard starts to happen, because they know you're seeing them and they know you're uncovering the mask or whatever it's called, you know, it's slipping, and they can't, once you see it, you can't unsee it, type of thing. Right. And they know you know, they've got to get rid of you somehow before he sees me too quickly. That's basically what.
Right. In hopes to get rid of us somehow, in hopes that we won't continue on with the reflection and the connecting dot. They hope that we won't do that.
Well, no, because they push you away, and obviously because you're so desperate to keep the relationship, you then tell them they're perfect and all the lovely things that, you know, and you apologize for things that you've done, and then that's it. And then in the morning it all starts again, you know.
Yep, exactly. And so that way, yeah, because they do that pulling away, the withdrawal. Once they consent, that we're starting to catch on, and they'll start
Yep.
doing withdrawal in hopes that we won't see anything else. But at the same time, remember, they got a double mind. They want us to chase them.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And you know, I've been a chaser. No, definitely. And every time I was pushed away, you know, when you do think you're in love with someone, you do go hard for it. You know, you tell them all the wonderful things that you mean in your heart, and you get straight back, and the very next day it goes back to normal. And in your head, you're then going, I need to talk to you, but I can't. So then it all starts again, because you still, although you kind of want them in your life because they're so wonderful, you still need to talk. You still, you know, and a normal person, a normal human being, sorry, but they're not normal. A normal human being would understand that if they care about you and you care about them, then it is a conversation that needs to be had, you know, and change happens. And if it doesn't happen, then there's a reason why. There's a reason why someone won't listen, because they don't want to hear it.
There you go. That's
You know?
it. Bingo.
Mm.
They don't want to. They don't want to. It's really crazy because they don't want to do it. They don't want to hear it, and they don't want to solve the problem.
Mm.
They want the
Yeah, I
problem
mean,
to persist.
for me, it was a case of I saw that she was a narcissist, you know, and in an argument, I did the worst thing you could possibly do and say, I think you're a narcissist, you know, and that was not a good thing to do. You can't do that, because you get punished instantly. And from my point of view, it was, you've got these traits. I want to help you, you know, because you've got so much love inside you. We want to get this bad bit out, you know, because you think this person loves you and stuff like that. So you want to drag all this nasty stuff out and get it done. But they're not interested in that. They're not interested in sitting down and going, I'm sorry, you know,
Right.
which
They
is
don't
what we
want.
all do.
Right, because they get away with what they're doing over and over and over again, and they like it. That's the other thing we come to realize. It's like, oh, how can they actually like doing what they're doing when they set out to do that? But that's what they like, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it gets them attention.
Mm.
So if they were to, if they were to try to change, grow, and mature, then
They're
that's
stuck
not.
with one person. That's it. They're
Mm-hmm.
stuck with one person for the rest of their life, like the rest of us want to be. And that's not enough for them, because when you do have the arguments, they need some other attention, because you're not adoring them like they need to be adored. And that's it. The rest of us want all those arguments, and because that's how you grow. You have an argument, you listen to the other person, and then you work on it. And if you don't work on it, then you go your separate ways. It's not going to work. But with them, it's different. It's different because they turn it around so much to you. Now they know all your triggers and all the ways to kind of hurt you. They can hurt you whenever they want, you know. So every time you try and have a discussion or a talk or something like that, boom, you know, you're shut down. That's it.
Exactly.
And
Yes. Yeah.
that's, you know, it's
They,
something I'd never do.
right. I know. See, that's
Yeah.
the thing. I think that's really the biggest reason why many survivors and warriors of the narcissistic abuse have that time that wrapping their head around what happened, because it's not something that we would ever that we don't have that mind to set out to steal, kill, and destroy another human being. That's just not how we cannot even
Yep.
fathom thinking that way, or going around and doing what these narcissistic abusers do to their targets to
Yep.
get them, just that psychological and emotional manipulation. It's just like we would never, it's not something that we consciously would say, oh yeah, we wake up and go, oh, we're gonna go psychologically manipulate somebody. I mean, that does not, we don't,
Mm.
we don't
It's the
have
bit.
that.
It's the bit where they want your reaction, where they want your negative reaction, things like that. Because then they have everything. Because they have some evidence that you're an angry person or whatever, and then they have you apologizing constantly for it. So it
Hmm.
gives them everything they need. Once they've got you, they've got you. And I think that's the worst thing about it. Once they've got you reacting to the silent treatment and things like that, you know. And I've done it. I've reacted and I've said some really stupid things, as you do.
Oh, you're not alone. We
And
all,
then,
yeah.
and because you feel genuinely horrible about it, you end up begging. You end up saying sorry and apologizing properly because it breaks your own heart to hurt someone that you care about, and they haven't got that in them. That's the trouble, you know. So when you're saying you've hurt me and they're saying it's your fault, I wouldn't do this if you didn't do that, that kind of thing, you know. And
Exactly.
it's like,
Hmm.
I I want to talk to you, and it's constant silent treatment. So I wouldn't react if you didn't treat me like absolutely nothing. You know, when yesterday you're telling me that I'm the only person you ever want.
That contra Yeah, yeah, that constant contradiction with their behaviors, and the actions not matching words, and then the different behaviors are also contradict each other, and things
Yep,
like that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh boy, that plays a big role in that confusion. We call it the cognitive dissonance spell for a reason.
yep, that's it.
'Cause it's just, and that's what they want to keep us under as long as they
Yep,
possibly can. Remember,
and
if
scared,
there you go.
because you're fearful to lose the love and the relationship and stuff that you've put so much into. Because you think if I've put so much into it, then it's worth something. You know, it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not worth.
exactly. And I'm just gonna let you know, like we say often, that it's just a matter of giving we got to give ourselves that time and the space to do the healing and to allow for that to happen. Before we get back out there. I know we all had to learn the hard way. Before we get
Mm,
back out there. See, it's like a lot of us are like, nah, we take the time to do the healing and to get the education and to, bringing it, turning that pain into purpose, to help others. And
yep,
so that's, we come together to do that, even while the survivors are in the healing process can do that, because I don't know about you, but I've heard others, and I know myself, that actually helps.
massively. I think it helps massively because when you do talk to other people, you do, as I said earlier, you do get other people's experiences and things, and there's little nuances to it all. Um, where although they all say and do the same things, they do it in different ways and things like that, and that's why some people get stuck for years and years and years. You know.
Exactly, because it takes a while to learn. Okay, wait a minute. So that was a gaslight when it may not have seemed like a gaslight because they said it a little bit differently, but it was a
Yeah.
gaslight.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I'm just going to go ahead and let you know I really, really appreciate your time and coming on to share some of your story and have this, discussion that is very much needed, and to
Yeah.
help others, in the here and now and going forward, for everybody to learn. And so, as always, I am going to encourage everyone to, if you have any questions for either one of us, you can always drop those in the comments below, and we'll get to those. And I'll get the ones, if you want Adrian to answer it. Just let us know in that question, and I will forward it to him and make sure he gets it so he can answer it for you. All
That's
right.
cool.
And so a huge thank you. And do you have any last words you would like to say to the audience?
Other than talk, just talk. You know, it's. I see lots of people saying about smear campaigns and telling the truth, and it's telling the truth. If you're telling the truth, then you can sleep with a clear conscience and help other people. I think that's the point of what we're doing, really, or what we're trying to do. It's not. It's a long road.
Yeah. And do you want to go ahead and let them know where they can find you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, and what is it? It's Narc Aware Warrior. So NARC Aware Warrior. That's
Okay.
me.
Okay. Thank you. And I will make sure to include that in the video description as well for everyone,
Okay,
so
cool.
that they can come on over. And we're bringing it, bringing us warriors together. That's what it's all about. Raising that
Yep.
awareness. Yeah, there you go. So that was a great tip, great point. It's just to not, keep finding the ones you can talk to, and that helps, like we just said, massively in the healing process. And so we want to leave all y'all with the love and light. Yes, to all fellow warriors. So we want to thank you for watching and listening. And until next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And y'all keep being you, keep healing, keep growing, keep glowing. In Jesus' name, amen.